Hello, and welcome to another workshop. It's Arthur Bessani here, professional engineer and managing director at ShedMate. And today we're gonna go through a very nice workshop that I like a lot. That's improving my shed business management with digital tools, AI, and metrics. So if you're new here, we help shed companies, double shed sales profitably without new hires or franchise strings. In other workshops, I covered a little bit more about our method and how it all started. So if you want, just go back to the other videos we have in our channel. You're going to have a better understanding about what we have created with parametric design and all of the automations we created with time to improve shared businesses. We had our own shared business. We had a lot of challenges, losing projects to the competition and all of the headaches of, operating that business. It's hard to delegate. You don't find qualified professionals to kind of, step up and do the job that's required. You need to, hire more people. They leave, and it's a pain. There's a lot to be managed in the business, and you have, a punching error that you need to redo that. A lot of admin involved, or you might send the wrong materials to the site, and then you got to stop the construction, and all of that creates a lot of stress, creates a lot of monetary challenges. And in our series of content here, we're covering how we can help you double your sales, but mainly profitable in a profitable way. So to do that, we're gonna cover a lot of automations. We're gonna cover a lot of ways to create a better business so you can delegate to other people. And you as the owner can actually look at your metrics, can look at the numbers, and then you can make the corrections and modifications faster instead of just be operating. Then after 3, 6 or months or a year, you look at your profit and loss and you say, oh, you know what, we don't have money to pay the bills, or hey, my cladding and framing a supplier send an invoice and it's actually more money than you have in the account. I don't want you to be in that situation. I understand you. So we're gonna cover a few of the topics related to this improving your business management with digital tools. And why is that? Why digital tools are needed. In previous videos, I discussed that if you are in that progress to move from operator to owner, you need to know your metrics. You need to know your numbers, because if you don't know your numbers, there's no way that any advisor would be able to tell you where to go. So let's do an analogy here. It's just like a trip. You're going from Melbourne to Adelaide by car, and you open your GPS and you say, "Yep, I want to go from here to to this point to that destination." And your GPS, as your, let's say, advisor, will tell you the best route, and you can actually tell, "Hey, you know what? I'd like to avoid, um, let's say, roads that are not good, or I'd like to avoid traffic." You can, put your points there, decisions, and that's going to be different from people to people. Some would like to go on the Great Ocean Road. Some will say, "Oh, scrap that. It's going to be, um, too time consuming. I just want to go the fastest way I can." And the journey is different from everyone. We have customers all over Australia, and no customer is the same. They're always different. And it's interesting that some of them, they always say, "Oh, no, that's how it's done in the shed business." It's like, yeah, mate, but we have a lot of customers. Some are bigger than you are, some are smaller than you are, and they're all doing things in different ways. So there's no, cake recipe on how to do it. And that's one of the reasons why it's hard to create a system that operates from inquiry to fabrication. That's the same for every business. There's no point in doing that. So when we're doing this trip that I said from Melbourne to Adelaide, you have a destination. I'm gonna go to Adelaide, and you have an origin, that's Melbourne. And if you don't know that origin, if you don't know where you are right now, that GPS won't be able to tell you how to get to where you are. So it's the same here for business scalability. If you don't know how many sheds you're doing a year, if you don't know how many inquiries you're having, if you don't know how long it takes from an inquiry to deliver a shed to your customer, if you don't know those metrics related to how many sales you're converting from the leads you're getting, it becomes very hard to understand where the pain points are. So this is one of the areas we're going to go through and understand better. And we're going to create some metrics here together that you can start applying at the end of this workshop and use in your business. But more important than that, it's how you actually track and how you actually create this without the effort of going through all of your paperwork to get those metrics. And to do that, you need a digital system, because if you're not digital, if you still rely on paperwork for everything in your business, and trust me, I've been talking to a lot of people and it's very common. So if you're in that situation, don't panic, because a lot of people are doing the same. However, we are in a very fast transformation in our industry. So we have artificial intelligence, we have agentic artificial intelligence that's creating agents that's working without people actually putting their hands on it. So there's a lot going on. And if you're still signing contracts that has, I don't know, 4 copies, and then you're giving one to the customer, you're giving one to fabrication, one to your admin team, or if you're still operating your business just by emails, all of your business documentation is in an email or in a laptop you have in your office or in a hard drive. There are better ways. There are better ways, and today I want to show you the different ways out there. This is a workshop, hands-on. So I'm gonna, show the system. You can, navigate to the areas you prefer. But the main importance of this, just coming back to where our destination is for this workshop, is to improve your business management with digital tools, so you can get those metrics in real time. So you don't need to be, spending a week just to get your metrics. You just open the system, you're going to be able to see that, and you can monitor it as you go. Just like when you're driving, you can see how your fuel in the car is, if you need to put petrol or not. So you're going to have those metrics, and you're going to be able to see that without, having to rely on extensive meetings with your team. Um, and how do you manage your business data currently? Different companies do have different systems. Okay, some companies they don't have anything; they're still relying on paperwork, and that's very common for, especially for shared businesses. They're doing 200 shares or less. So everything it's on emails, phone calls that they don't have logs or transcripts, so they have some paper-based contracts, and they might have a sort of system that they use. It can be an internal system that they build for themselves, an Excel. It could be a third-party system that they purchase. But most of the time, those systems they are not tailored to their business needs, and that's why they need a lot of additional admin to fulfill that. So this is this experience we have seen that in the market, and some metrics that would be good for you to track is number of monthly inquiries. So how many inquiries you're receiving monthly, how many quotes are being delivered from those inquiries, how many sheds you're selling. So you can assess, hey, if I'm getting 100 inquiries, if I'm delivering for some reason 50 quotes, because some 50 from those 100 they didn't qualify, don't offer what they're asking, and from those 50 we sold just one shed, then hey, I can easily see that I could improve my sales metrics. And if I do some improvements in my sales metrics that doubles the amount of sales, I'm just doubling the revenue in my business. On the other side, there are lots of companies out there who they do a lot of quotations, and they do indeed do a lot of sales. However, they don't have enough monthly inquiries. They would like to get more market, but they blame the competition. They blame the government. Oh, it's too hard now. People don't have money or blah, blah, blah. But there are companies out there still selling sheds. So what do we need to do? We need to improve our marketing, because by improving the marketing, we can get more inquiries. By having more inquiries, we can, quote more sheds, and then you can sell more of those sheds. And then how long it takes from inquiry to proposal accepted. That's another big one. I generally like to try to assess this with my clients, because if it's taking 60 days from the moment someone asks for a quote to the moment they close the deal, if we can shorten that period of time from 60 days to 30, you just doubled your sales as well in a way, right? Because now your inquiries are going to be closing faster, and your cash flow is going to be closing faster. So instead of closing 200 projects in 2 years, you can close 200 projects in 1 year. And that's another very important metric you need to have. And most companies they don't have this metric if they don't have a digital system, because it's all in emails, it's all in communications on the phone. And if you don't have a CRM, customer relationship management, we're going to cover that, or if you don't have a system that tracks that information, you as an owner you can see that value. And as I said, sometimes it's just a little adjustment you can make on some areas on your business that can give you a lot of returns. And also how long it takes from proposal accepted to delivery. This is not necessarily in doubling sales, but it's important in doubling your profitability, mainly in your cash flow. Because if it's taking a lot of time for you to deliver that shed, because you might be relying on a supplier that takes too long, or you might be relying on a logistics like a truck, or a company that does that it's not keeping up. This is something else you need to keep track of. So having those numbers will allow you to look at that a dashboard that we can create together, and then easily know, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to improve this. How do I do that? And then you know the right questions to ask. Okay. um, and then referrals or other things that we're gonna cover, and mainly the internal workflow. This is what very different from company to company, right? So what's the internal workflow? Imagine like a ball, and this ball is actually navigating through the whole process in your business, from the initial inquiry, the first contact from a customer to your business, all the way to, hey, here's your shed delivered on site. Some companies, they just supply only. So they're not going to be doing concreting. They're not going to be doing erection. Some companies, they will do council approvals. Other companies will just delegate that to a third party company that will do that for them. Some companies, they request a higher deposit in the beginning and a lower deposit at the end, or vice versa. So all of that impacts a lot. And the way you look at that workflow, it's a very good way to start looking at that business automation. So you can reduce a lot of that stress on the owner's shoulders, and you can actually, make the business run more smoothly. So you can actually look at the data and know where to make the changes internally with your team. So that's also something we're going to go through today. Then obviously, this is here just a mind map, just so you can have a better understanding about our discussion. And let's go through now on how to use a professional business management system, even though you don't have a lot of experience on technology. I have selected a specific system, and I have used many guys out there. I have used, implemented, spent years, doing this for different businesses, not only in the shed industry, but also in the building information modeling industry. So I used to implement Revit, Tekla, similar systems in construction companies, not only here in Australia, but in different countries. And we tested so many different systems. We have been through all of them, and one that I like the most, it's called Monday.com. That's the one we're going to use on this workshop here to kind of guide you through that organization process. And why Monday.com? A few reasons. After implementing these in many different businesses, I noticed that Monday.com is um, easily accepted. I think it's the user interface, so it's a very you know simple way that matches our brain organization, and it's very a little bit similar to Excel as well. So everyone has used Excel in this industry, so it's simple to use and simple to set up. I think the setup, sometimes companies need some help, especially if they don't have that IT background in terms of how to keep my data safe or what's the best way to do this. And this is when we generally can help you out. The other thing is it's scalable. No matter if you're doing one shed a year or 10,000 sheds a month. Sorry, this should be a month, or 10,000 sheds a month. The system works. Okay, so it's good. It's affordable, and you don't need coding. If you need something more experienced, more advanced, sorry, then you could include code here, but you can do the initial setup without code. And personally, I love that, because although I'm managing a shed business, a software business, ShedMate, I'm not a developer myself, and I don't know how to code. I do have some background in coding, very basic, to understand what's going on, but I don't code on a daily basis. So I like this because it's simple to use, simple to set up, and I can do what I need without having to spend a lot of money on my implementations. Also, it can integrate easily with other platforms out there. So if you're more advanced and have a company that's using HubSpot or Salesforce or Zero or MyOb, or if you're just starting out and you don't have anything, it can work for you, because you can integrate those different systems. You can, get the data from one system to the other, and use a lot of the automations to have your process, streamlined. And in addition, it supports dashboards. I love that. I'm a very visual person. I like to look at something and see how my business is going. And this shows me everything that I need through these dashboards that we're going to learn today. So we're going to learn in a little bit on this workshop on how to centralize the scattered information that's very common for the construction industry. The construction industry, I've been using years, not only for the shed industry, but the construction itself. It's very traditional. So we do have, a system that's mainly for males, mainly for, processes that came from a regulation, and it's always the same. People don't change much. There's not a lot of innovation, but BIM is growing very fast on the industry. We've seen that especially with latest data from August 2025, in which BIM and AI has been used by, if I'm not mistaken, about 37% of construction companies in Australia now, which is good. It's a good number. I was surprised by that. So using ways to centralize that scattered information is essential. Otherwise, you're going to be losing a lot of money, which is hard to track and quantify because it's generally intangible. We're talking here about project management challenges, communication challenges, omissions, errors. So if you don't have information like clear and organized in front of you, it's going to lead to errors, and your team is not going to perform the same. But how do you track that? You don't. You only track when you use and you digitize your business, and all of those issues they're away, and then you can notice on day one. You're like, oh wow, how did I not have that? So I passed through this experience with many customers after they implement BIM, for example. There's like, oh wow, I don't even know how to do anything without it anymore. So we're gonna go through it, and also reducing the dependency on key people. One of the main challenges when we're talking about the dependency on people, it's because about what they know, what they experience managing projects, or their contacts. And when we're using a system that manages everything digitally, you don't rely too much on those. And when I say this, it can be a little bit harsh, and I'm not saying that those people are going to be fired, but if you've been there, you do have problematic people in your business that you need to get away, like them away from the business, but you just don't know how. Because if they leave, it's even worse for you, because hey, who's going to do what they're doing at the moment, because I can't find people. So we're talking here totally about business improvement, because if you have a better person doing a better job, you're going to create more job for the people as well. So it's more about the dependency on key people who be shouldn't have that dependency on. We're going to have real-time job tracking, workflow automation. So, for example, hey, as soon as I have a new inquiry, send an email to someone automatically. So this is the kind of thing that sometimes you're having a lot of people in the admin that work doing that for you, that you can easily set up those automations, and you don't need all of those, repetitive tasks, which are boring. And from experience, when people, even the people who were doing that before, they don't need to do it anymore, and they free up the agenda to do more meaningful work that they like to do and impacts the company, they're happy at the end. So that's one of the skepticism, especially in human psychology, when you're talking about automations and dependency on people. They think that hey, they're gonna lose their job, and it's gonna be chaos. But after we pass that stage, the outcome is actually different. They're actually happier because they're not doing manual repetitive tasks anymore. They're doing more human centric, um, processes and tasks, such as sales, or talking to people, or resolving more complex problems, instead of sending emails to people, which can be boring, right? And then you can actually track engineering compliance as well, and ordering, tracking, and management, so you can see the schedule delivering, and have that visual clarity for owners, and training and onboarding. All right, there was a long introduction, but I think we needed that base. And now let's jump to Monday.com and understand how the system works. Okay, so Monday.com, obviously, I'm not going through all of the details and setup, but if I just open here in an anonymous page and go here, Monday.com, I'll just answer a question that you might be having right now, is how much does it cost, right? So if you go to Monday.com and go to pricing, you're going to see that it's extremely affordable. I really like the pricing model. The work management, this is the one we're going to be focusing today. It's about $30 per seat per month, right? If you buy it by year. If you buy monthly, it's 39. This is the pro. This is the one I have, and the one I'm going to be demonstrating, but they have cheaper versions of it. But I would highly recommend, if you have shared business that's established, look, go for the pro, because you're going to have the formula columns. You're going to have some additional automations and integrations that can be done here for us. All right, so let's say you sign up to Monday.com, or at least you create a free account. You're going to get something similar to this. I just created here a workplace called SharedMate Workshop Training. This is the one I'm going to be using. And here we can add different things to this workplace. One of the first things I'm going to add here, if I was creating this for a new company, is add a document saying, welcome to our business. And I can actually define the privacy if this is going to be main. So when I put main, everyone can see that. If it's private, say, hey, that's only for some, people, or if it's shareable. When I do this, I can actually share that specific board with anyone outside of my company. So an example of it is if I have an engineer that I'm working with, and I have a board that manages all of my engineering, delivery, and pricing, and if I pay the engineer and all of that, I could share that board with the engineer outside of my organization. So, hey, if you want to have any idea of how the engineer is going, just go there and you see all of the information. Um, so for this example, I'm just going to leave this as private. So just I can see it. But it could be main, and you can change that as we go. And here we can start with templates, tables, charts, but I'm just gonna, copy and paste some information. So this is like a fake company that we're creating right now, just to start up this project. So I'm just gonna copy and paste. So this is the information about a business. So imagine anyone joins your business, all of that, onboarding, all of the initial information that you need can be organized here. So welcome to my business. We're R&B chats, and this is a fake ABN. That's a fake location there. Here are social media links. Here's our team members. So we have John Matthews, we have Sarah, we have Liam, we have Emily. So just different people that are there. What I could do is I could, share this board, and I could start inviting those team members here. Okay, so I could, type the email details, and they're going to be able to, access this. So this is the first board we have. Welcome to our business. But then we can, following those pillars we have in ShedMate, we can start creating some business structures here. One of the ones that I really like to do is the client. So I'm going to create here now a board. So the board, it's similar to an Excel spreadsheet, but much more powerful. And this board is going to be my client or prospect. I'll just put client for now, client database. I'll leave this as main. And I'm just going to put here, this is going to be, actually could be clients. There you go, clients. So this is just the name for that. And I'm going to create this board here for us. So this board is going to be on the left. So now I have, a document. In this document, I could put images, I could put videos, I could put whatever about my business. So if I have anyone in our business that's new, I can just share with them and say, hey, all of the information is there for anything you need, contact them for everything. Then I have our client database. So you can see that it automatically creates some sample data for me. And I'll just guide you through the structure of how it works, and then the next boards are going to be much faster for us to understand the main purpose of the usability. So here we have the rows. So this is, just like in Excel, we have information like item 1, 2, 3. We could put here client. So I'll just put some Andrews here, name here, like Andrew first. I'm going to call here Sam second, and I'm going to call here Eduardo Barros. Okay, so I have here the contact details of 3 people. So now let's talk about your business needs. Once again, everyone will have different needs. And here is why I really like Monday.com, because I can add columns as I want here. So one of the columns here could be phone number. So, okay, what's the phone number of Andrew? It could be 476. And what's the phone number for Sam? So it could be something like that. And what's the phone number for Eduardo? It could be something like this. So we just created here 3 potential customers. And then we have a date. It could be the date when this was created. It could be, the date of the first contact, date of creation date. Let's put here creation date. And then you can start managing that information. Okay, it's gonna make all sense when you get more of these dashboards and you start linking them. You're gonna understand how powerful this is. Here you could put here responsible. So who is responsible for those specific customers, and we could put a status here. Okay, I don't need status for this one. I'll just delete this for now. I just need the name of the customer. I might need a creation date just so I understand when that person contacted us for the first time. I need a phone number. I might need here email. So email address, and might need address. Actually, I'll just put here location, and we might have address. So let me delete this. And you're going to start to see how we're going to be building here blocks that are very cool. So I'll create some emails here, andrew@gmail.com. And this person here is going to be sam at yahoo.com. And you're going to have here eduardo at hotmail.com. Location. I can actually put some location for those different people in my business. So let's start here with Adelaide Oval. Yeah, this you do. Women's and children, not a hospital, but let's do something else. Here, North Adelaide Golf Club. So I'm just putting location for each one of these guys. North Adelaide Dental Care, whatever. All right, so we created a group here of people, and we can start organizing this information in different ways. So let me delete those two. So, for example, one of the applications of groups could be for a workflow. We're going to go back to this once we create a workflow structure for this company. But it could be something like prospect and customer. So, for example, okay, we have all of these the list of prospects, people who contact us. Eduardo just became a customer, so I can move him to here. So it's a very easy way to start organizing, data for our client database. And I'm just using the client database for now, so you can start building, the sales board. Also, when I have information here, such as email, phone, or location, I can have different views on the top here. So if I click here and add a customizable view, one that I like very much. Oops, not this one. Let me go here, view, apps, or explore more views. This is what I was looking for. And let me look for map. So I can actually view those locations that I have there in a map. I really like this feature, especially when I'm managing my projects, because I can open the map and it's gonna show me where each one of those different projects they are placed. So I use those different addresses there, like for Sam. This one here is for Eduardo, and this one here is for Andrew first. That was the Adelaide Oval. And I can actually click here and see the information. Okay, that's their phone number, that's the email address. Okay, so we're starting to build that database as we go. If I go back here, there are a few different things here. When you start having a lot of data, I can search for that data. So I can go here and say, I want to search for Eduardo. And then it's going to show me only Eduardo in my list. So if I have 10,000 people in this list here, this search feature is very good. Something else that you can do is use the filters, right? So for example, let's say that I am responsible for all of these different guys here. And when I go to my filter, I can actually select and say, hey, I want to see just prospects or customers, or I want to see people who are just assigned to myself, or I want to see, everyone that the phone number is in Australia, or I want to see everyone that the email is that, or I can actually switch to advanced filters. So for example, I can say, look, I want to filter anything that the name is not, contains, and I could say borrows. So when I do this, it filters for, okay, the name contains bearers. So this is the last name of Eduardo. And I could actually save that as a new view. So on the top there, I would have different views. I'll show more specific applications for these. One of them could be if you're tracking project status, it could be I want to filter for everything that's council approval to start. And then that view could be specifically assigned to one of your team members who is doing council approvals. So they will only have their view. They don't need to see everything. They only need to see what's in front of them. So this is massive, okay? Let's continue here. And now I'm going to create another database. And I'm going to create another board. And I'm creating these boards like from scratch. But I could actually create these boards as a template. So if I go here to template, you can see there are lots of different templates there, including sales and CRM, so marketing activity, customer projects, there are a lot of things there. I like to create this from scratch because I like to adapt this to your business instead of just using something that, available that might overcomplicate. So I like to start simple, and then as we operate this on each shared business, then we can add these specific fields because it's fully customizable. Um, so as you can see here, there are lots of different things there. Let's try this one. Customer requests, right? If I click here, it's gonna, let's use this template. It shows you that it can integrate with Slack, Gmail, with many different things. Let's use this template just to understand how the system works. Good. So as you can see, it created like a template for me, very similar from the other one that I went through with you. Like we have different groups, we have information in each one of those items, and then we have different columns here. So another one I have is the status columns. So the status columns allows us to actually do things like, hey, what's the priority, or hey, what's the status, it's a new one, we're working on it, stuck, and what's the type, that's a technical support, blah blah blah. You can even attach files to it. So you can start to feel now that this system, when used correctly, integrates the whole information from your team. And I'll show you an example here. Okay, so let's rename this, and I'm gonna call these, just to simplify, inquiries or quotes. So what I need here, for the quote is, can just come here on the top, settings, and I want to change default item values. No, it's not what I need. Just bear with me for a while. I'm looking for item terminology. So I want to call these quotes instead of requests. So I'm going to have a quote here, and this quote, something that I can do here that's very nice is I can add a column to the right. And this column here, it's going to be a mirror column. So mirror column is, I'm going to get a specific column from another board that I'm going to connect now. So which board I'm going to connect? So I'm actually going to come here and say, hey, I want to select the board client database, connect the boards, okay? And the mirror column will show the information from the other board. So I could say here, hey, I want to show the email address. So look how nice. I can actually change this name now to client name. And from here, let's say that I got a new quote from Andrew. Andrew quote 001. So you can use any file naming convention you want. Our customers using ShedMate, what we do is, as soon as you have a new inquiry from the ShedMate system, we send that information to your Monday board. So it's always going to have the quote name number that matches the ShedMate project. So this, removes a lot of that, manual data entry and speeds up the workflow. And here I have that list. And as you can see, as soon as I put here the client name Andrew, it already brings his email. So this column here that I add as a mirror, so it's just mirroring the other board, would be named email. And why I do that instead of doing that manually? Because you can have the same customer buying many shares or having multiple quotes, and you want to manage that information accordingly. So here you have created as priority. I could, have here assign, and then I can move this around. So for example, I could actually drag and drop and put at the beginning and say, who's going to be the salesperson? Okay, for that specific job. So I have here the information. I have someone called Andrew, and the email is andrew@gmail. The priority for this one could be, okay, low or whatever. And what's the status? Okay, so here's where it starts to be very cool, because you can change those different status to match your project workflow for the sales process. So it could be here, I can edit these labels and say, okay, this one's a new quote. I'm working on it. I could say here, add another one and say quote sent to customer. I'll move this on the top. I can apply. Actually, let me make a few more additional ones. And I can say following up, stuck or done. So that's very simple. So as I have new quotations coming into my business, I have the information from that customer. I could actually link this to ShedMate. So that's something we do. So let me just open ShedMate here as an example. I'll just get this alpha company here that I have, just get this project. And I could actually have a specific feature here on my Monday that would be the ShedMate project. So let me add a column to the right, and this column is going to be a link, and this link, just going to copy ShedMate link, and this could be ShedMate. So look what we're starting to have here. We're getting a sales management system, and I can actually rename this just to be more specific. Sales, in which I have my open requests, and I have the project. So if I click here, I could go to that specific project that that comes from that Andrew guy, and then I have some additional details. I like to move the status to the first one. And then what can happen here is I could match these specific groups to my main workflow. So what's the workflow that I want this to follow? It's, hey, from new to working on it, quote sent to customer. So I could do this here, like working on it. And the other one, just to follow the sequence, could be quote sent to customer. I'll add another one to the bottom. So let's me just add a group here. And this group would be quote sent to customer. It's gonna get better and better as we follow through here, because you're gonna see how cool this is. Um, Another great feature of this is write a new update. Okay, so the write a new update is pretty much a chat you could have across your multiple team members that you can update monthly, weekly, daily about what's going on for that project. Okay, so for example, imagine I'm a salesperson now, and I just got this new one. I could say, hey guys, this is a friend of mine who I advised to request a quote using the 3D online designer from our website. Um, let's just hit an update. Done. Okay, so I have that information and I have the track of that data there. Okay. What happens is now I can start, producing the quotation. So let's say that I'm using ShedMate for this example here. I'm just gonna, select a pricing template. The focus on this workshop is not about ShedMate necessarily, so I'm just creating a quote here as the example. So let me generate the document. So it's a $76,000 shed. There we go. So I have my quote, right? So what I could do is under the files here, if I want, I could come here and say, look, I want to put this quote there. So that was a new request. Now I have my quote that we just created in ShedMate very quickly, very easily. So we can see here the quotation, like from ShedMate. So we have all of the different pages there, blah blah blah. Everything is in there, and I'm starting to have a very good management of what's going on. So I can delete this. How long it's there's a time tracking, how long it's open. Requester, I'm just gonna delete this. This came from the template. So if you remember, we started this using a template. So I'm gonna delete because I'm using a crossboard. That's actually clever than using just as it is here. So we don't start having duplicates as we have new projects. All right. So now what I can do is, let's say that I talk to the customer and then I have my quotation. I just produced that quotation from ShedMate. I could have a site plan as well. So let's do that just to be more precise. I'm going to do a site plan. Actually, someone has done this site plan already for another project. So let's just create a PDF as well of this. These are small ones. I'm going to use A4. That's fine. Actually, whoever did this site plan made a few mistakes. So let me just fix it. So let me modify. You know what? I'm gonna, yep, check, site plan. See if I can move this around. Yep, I can. When they did this, they probably didn't add the coordinates. I'm just making modifications here to my site plan so I can easily put this at the right place. So the site plan was a little bit off because of the high resolution imagery not always matches the Google imagery. So I just moved this to the right position considering the block boundaries that comes from the government system already. And now that's a better site plan. So let me generate a PDF again. This is how fast ShedMate produces documentation, which I love. Okay, let's go back to our quoting. So now I have another file. So I can just upload that file as well. So going here, we have that new site plan. And we could actually, in ShedMate, create some architectural plans or quotation plans to share with that customer. So let me go here and say architectural plans. I'll probably go A3. That's a big one. Hit go. And then it just created architectural plans, a site plan, and a quotation for this project. And then we can include all of that in the email. So let me add this here. Good. So if I go here to this project specifically, I can see that this project 4 minutes ago was, hey, this was a friend of mine. So I put that note there. And if I click here on files, I can see all of the files related to that project. So I have an architectural plan, I have a site plan, everything that I need to push this to the customer. If the customer came into the office, I could print all of this and say, look, I have already worked on it and the quote was already sent to the customer today. Okay. So if I click here, I can go to activity log and I can see when information is happening. This is great, guys. So coming back to what we discussed in the beginning of this web workshop, you need that transparency, you need that scalability, you need the ability as an owner to look at what's happening in your business, and this gives you that peace of mind because you can look at this and understand, okay, I know that Arthur, this is a specific salesperson, sent that quote to my customer just now. So that was 19th of September at 10:46 a.m. So I can actually create an automation, for example, and say, hey, after 7 days, if this is sitting here for 7 days, uh, send an email to my salesperson, say, hey, it's time to follow up with Andrew because it's been 7 days you sent your quote and you haven't heard from him yet. Okay. So this is an example of how you can start to structure these in a way that matches your business needs. And once again, every business will be different. Every business will need specific columns, specific workflows. But let's keep moving here through the workflow. Now I'm going to create another board. And this board is going to be named, instead of projects, jobs. Okay, so that's now a job that goes to production, admin and everything. And I'm just going to call this project. Let's create a new job. So now in my job in production here, what I can do is I'll just delete the information that I don't need. To simplify this one, I'm just going to use one group. But once again, we would generally assess each business to understand what's the better workflow for each. And the status here of the jobs, so that's why we have another board. So the sales status is generally, hey, there's a new one, and we sent the quote to the customer. Now we're following up, or it could be, just make this better, deal closed. And we could have another one here saying, actually, instead of stuck, deal lost. So this would be a better organization of the project workflow that I have. So my goal here is to actually close those deals. And if that doesn't work well, we probably lost that deal. So the deals that we close, what we can do is we can create an automation for every time we have a new deal that goes to close, and this could be deal closed. I want to, send that information to jobs. Okay. So to do this, actually, I'm going to make a modification here. So instead of creating this, let me delete this job. And I'm going to duplicate this one because I want to get similar data. So let me duplicate. And now I want to duplicate the board structure only. I don't want to duplicate the items or updates. I just want to duplicate the board structure. And let's do this. And I'll rename this one now to projects. And now instead of sales is production. Okay. Now we're gonna have to make a few changes here. Okay. Let's look on how we can create our first automation. So every time a deal is moved to deal closed, I want to create and link that into projects. So we're gonna work here with an automation, and I'm gonna say, hey, I wanted to create an automation, and now I want to say, hey, when the status changes to something, okay, then I want to create an item in a board and connect boards. So follow with me. So it seems complex, it can seem complex to some people, but once again, we can help you set up all of this as a ShedMate Enterprise customer. But at the end, you're going to see that's all going to make sense. So what I'm doing here is, okay, when the status, what status, that column status changes to deal closed, then I want you to do this. I want to create an item in the board. So the board that we're going to create is production. The board that we just created called projects production. And I want to create an item. And the item, it's going to be, the name. And we're just going to get the same information that we had from the sales project there. So it's just matching all of the information here, as you can see. Let's hit done. And I want to connect the both boards with a new column. Okay, so let's create this automation and see how it's going to look like, and then we can come back to this and understand what's going on. So guys, once again, I'm doing this from scratch here, but it doesn't need to be from scratch. I'm just actually doing a hands-on to show you how this actually works. So it actually created a column called projects there at the end. And if I go to projects, it created a link to quote sale. So let's have a look if it's actually working. So we had that quotation called Andrew 0001. So this was the first quote. So now the customer called us back and say, hey guys, thank you so much. You shared with me a quotation, you shared with me a site plan so I could see where the shed's gonna look, how the shed's gonna look like in my board. You shared architectural plans. I have everything that I need. I have a chat with my wife and it looks great. So I would like to move forward. Okay, good. Then we just close the deal. Okay, so what we could do here, additionally to that, is we could go to the reports and then we could, look for a contract. So we could have a contract here that we could, set up, and we can just send that contract to the customer using all of the information coming from ShedMate. But as soon as I move that to deal closed, right, I'm just gonna delete this one so we don't have too much information here. So as soon as I have a deal close here on my job, so in my sales pipeline, so my sales team will have the information organized. Okay, they have closed that deal, and if I can come here to the activity log, I'll be able to see, hey, that deal was closed on September at 10:52. Okay, so once again, I have the historic step-by-step process of my deal. Now, if I go to my projects, it should be here. Something went wrong with my automation. So let's have a look. So if I go here to automation, actually, I want to go to quotes. Oh yeah, I know what I did. So I actually moved to deal close, but I didn't connect moving to deal close with another automation to changing the status. And the automation that I did back then was to, as soon as I change the status, not necessarily move to here. So that's also something I like to do. So let me move this back here. And I like the hands-on because you can actually see the mistakes. You're probably going to make the same when you're doing it for the first time. So now I'm going to create another automation saying, hey, when my status changes to something, move item to a specific group. So that's going to be better. It's going to be set up in a better way. So when the status changes to deal closed, I want to move the item to deal closed. So let's create this automation. And I could also create another automation just for the sake of time. I'm going to avoid this one. But the other automation could be as soon as this one is as soon as the status change to deal close, move it to here. The other one could be as soon as the item is moved to deal close, change the status to deal closed. So then you can start to have both workflows integrated. So now this should work. So if I move this from here to here, let's see what's going to happen. Nothing. But if I change the status to deal closed, watch out, look what's going to happen. Now an automation was completed and moved it to here. And automation, probably if I go to projects, then I have that one day. Okay. So as you can see, this came to deal close, and in the projects, I have something different. I need a different workflow. So I'm going to put here new, working on it, uh, to be confirmed, project completed. And let's make some modifications to it, okay? Because this is not as we want it to be. So let's go back to the automation, and then we can modify that automation that we created. And the item actually should go to the group near, okay? So it was just matching the group, and I don't want the when the sales happens for the group to be deal close. I want it to go to the production as new. So this is the change we're gonna have to make. Update the automation. Done. So let's do the same now. Once we have completed that. So I'll duplicate this without the updates. So I'm just going to duplicate just to have the same information there. And let's say this is another quote. So the customer is doing another job. Okay. This is why it's good to have that information of the customer linked there in our database, because we can actually assess what's going on. So going back to the workflow. Oh, that's going to be a new one. Good. So let's say I have a new request from a quotation from this customer here. So we're gonna do the same process, right? We're gonna get the information, talk to the customer on the phone, clarify everything, and then as soon as I have everything, I send to the customer, and now the customer said yes, I want to go ahead. So now what we're gonna do is move this. Okay, the deal was closed. So once again, that's gonna move the second quote from that customer to deal is closed. And then I can come back to projects. And I think something is wrong because it continues sending these to where it shouldn't. Let's have a look and fix it. It should be new, not projects completed. I'm curious to why it went to projects completed now. Okay, I might have missed something. Let's try another one. So I'll call this John Morris. This is going to be a new job, and the client name is going to be John Morris. So I'm going to add a new client, John Morris there, and the email will be john@shedmate.com. Okay, so we're working on this quote, and now the quote was sent to the customer. And now if I go here, let's just have a look on the other project. So we don't have any John here, and ideally when I say deal completed, I want that to go to new. Okay, so let's see if it's gonna work or not. So if I go deal closed for John, then it moves to deal close. So I have 3 deals that were closed already. And if I go to projects, it's still going there. So something is wrong with my automation, guys. But the idea was for this John project to come to the top there, not to the end. And if you go to the All right. I think I know what's going on. When I duplicated that board, I also duplicated these automations. And one of them was if the deal is this deal closed, then move to project completed. But I don't need this automation here. I only needed that automation on the other board, not here. Okay. So this is probably the what caused that. So yeah, that was a good problem to have. Let's give it a try once again. So let's move John Morris to here. I'm just gonna duplicate John. Last test. Now it should work. So let's call yeah. Alrighty, I'm back. I had an interruption here. I had to fix. So we're having some issues with the automations here. So let me just review the automations from the projects. I don't want many automations on this one. Okay, this is okay. And quote and sales, the automation you have created. Let's look at them because sometimes you might have one automation that's actually changing the other one. When the status changes to new, start how long it's open. When it changes to deal close, stop. Good. When the status changes to deal closed, move item to deal closed, which is correct. When the status changes to working on it, move item to working on it. When item is created, set status to new. When status changes to deal close, move item to deal close. I think this is duplicated. So sometimes that duplication can cause the issue. So let me delete this. Good. And when status changes to deal close, create an item in projects and connect production with, there we go. There is an issue here. And connect, then create an item in projects and connect quote sales, both boards actually. That's what I need. Both boards. Okay, let's see. Let's see how it goes. Anthony Morris. We have another quote. Okay, deal closed. Anthony Morris goes there down, deal close, which is correct. If I go to my projects, there we go. Finally, we fixed it. So now what we've done here was to link both boards, the production board and the quote board. And why is that? Because you generally will have different team members working on these different areas. So you have a team that's doing sales, and you're probably going to have another team doing projects. Even if you're not doing that at the moment, it's good to do that division because in future when you grow up you can do that and you don't need to share the full access from this specific board with everyone. You share just what they need to work with, which creates that transparency, but also the user permission that it's going to be helpful for your business organization. So one of the things I haven't added here that's very, very, very important is pricing. So I can add another column to the right, and this column could be numbers. And this number here could be the quote price. And then I'll show you another trick that I use here that's actually changing the column settings and restrict the column view. So you can do that if you don't want everyone to see how much that quote is, but you still need that information in the board. So you can do that and say, look, for this view here, only certain people in my company will be able to view and modify or make changes to that quotation. This is very good when you have an admin board and you need to share information to someone else, but you don't want them to see financial data, for example, so you can restrict who can actually see that, okay? So this is very cool because you can see here how many open requests. Let's say this one is 15,890, and you can make changes here and say this is going to be a price. and you want to see the sum at the end. For the other ones, you close the deal. Let's just put some different pricing there. So we have four sheds here that we close a deal like samples, and you can see that the sum of those sheds is 67.357 dollars. How long it's open? So once again, this is another metric, that we can make modifications. I'm not going to go into details on that yet, but I can already see some pricing information from those sheds I'm selling. So far, we've created our client database, which is gonna add information of our clients. We created our board with the specific quotes. And once again, I use here just the name of that person, but it's generally advisable to do something else, like in ShedMate. So ShedMate, we always do something like this. So this would be the name. So we have the first name, last name, the number, and it's an individual item per quote. If it's a draft or a job, and then you have the month and the year. So it's September 2025. So having a file naming convention helps a lot, and ShedMate does that for you. So generally speaking, what would happen here is if you integrate in ShedMate with Monday, then as soon as you have a new quotation, then that quote will come here to the quote sale board with that naming convention, and then you can go from here and make modifications. You can put updates about how that quote's going. As you follow through in a workflow, you could send a quote to the customer, and you could have another block here saying following up. And I generally like to match the colors. So this following up would be something like this. And when this quote comes here, following up, then your sales team will be able to start adding notes. For example, I have called the customer today, left voicemail. And then you, as a business owner, what you can do is, once a week, you could, okay, let me go to my board, and you can see how many projects are new, how many projects people are working on it, who is working in each of those projects, what quotes were sent, what is being following up, and okay, what's going on with this project. So you can come there and say, all right, one of my sales team members said they have called the customer, they left a voicemail, but you know what, and then you could reply to that comment from your salesperson. So I'm just using my same account here, so it's going to be two Arthurs, but imagine it's someone else, let's say the business owner, saying, hey, Arthur, and then I could tag myself or tag that person. You left a voicemail, but you could also have sent an email talking about the, you know, sent an email. So you actually start advising or making comments or having chats about that specific project that team is quoting. So instead of just leaving a voicemail, as a good salesperson, I expect you to leave a voicemail. If they don't answer the phone, send an email as well saying, hey Jack, I have called you today to talk about your project. I know it might be in a hurry, busy, but we're getting at the end of the month and there's a lot going on. I don't know, just want to hear where you go from here. Whatever, you have your sales scripts there. So this is a way for you to keep track of that information. And for deals close, you can actually see, all right, $67,000 close in this month. And you can create filters again, as I have shown this already to you. And this filter could be, for example, if I look here at dates, yeah, we don't have dates. That would be another good column to add. So I could actually, add a column to the right, and this column could be date, and this could be deal close date. So just for the example I'm giving to you here, I could say this one was closed on the 19th, this one was closed on the 4th, this one was closed last month, and this was last month as well. Okay, so I have here $67,000. That all of the information I can see in this quote board, but I could filter this, and now what I could do is for deal close, I want to see this month. So look how cool it is. And then it's gonna filter just what was closed this month, and I can see that's $61,000. Okay, 51,000 dollars that was deals closed this month. So we only have three items here for this demonstration, but as you have more and more data, This becomes nicer because you can look at your business details in a very, very good manner. Let's clear all, so you have all of the information from this. Now let's go to projects. I think you're starting to get a good idea about why I really like having a digital system integrated to how you manage your business. Coming back to what we discussed, you're going to be able to easily look at the monthly inquiries, how many quotes you're sending, how many shares you're selling, how long it takes from inquiry to proposal accepted. And if you don't have this kind of management, it becomes very hard to keep track of all of those numbers. But when you have this implemented in your business, it's real time. You just open it and all of the information is there. All right, now let's go to this specific, workflow. Here, I'm just gonna copy here and paste on production. Actually, I'm gonna open the note here. I'm gonna open my notepad just to help me out. So this is when we have a study about how your business operates. As I said, everyone is different, and then we can modify the workflow here to match each of these businesses. So now we're talking about jobs, right? So from experience, we have a new jobs. So we have admin to start. So it's generally okay. The guy closed the deal. So admin will send a contract, and then after the contract is signed, then we're gonna start preparing the engineering documentation. For example, then we can, after this, start, council approvals, and we might start, before admin to start. He could say deposit paid, engineering documentation, council approval, and then we go. What else? Fabrication to start, like once council is finalized, fabrication, or ordering to start. To make this simpler, I'm not gonna use this board as a fabricator. I'm just gonna use a shed kit supplier. So I'm just gonna put here ordering, okay? Ordering, and after ordering, you could say, okay, materials are here, so concreting to start, and then delivery, erection, and final notices. Could be here 9, final deposit, and final notices. So I'm just creating here a very basic structure of how the workflow will be for this shed business we created. Okay. So let's do this. So in the project's production, I'm gonna change this. I could use the groups if I want to, put them together, or I could not. So it will depend on the preferences. So let's simplify this one. I use the groups for the quotes, but for this one I won't use, just to show you two different ways of doing the same thing. And here's when we can change the status. So the first one is admin to start. Okay. Second one would be deposit. Okay. So we can have a status for this. Then actually we don't need a deposit. It could be engineering. The other one could be this could be here waiting on deposit. The other one could be waiting on engineering. Then waiting on council approval. Ordering. Now concreting. This one could be 7 delivery. Delivering. Erecting shed. Waiting on final payment. And 10 waiting on final notices. And the last one would be green one, project completed. Good. So I'll keep the colors, but you could create something nicer that it starts like blue and goes all the way to green. But anyways, so this is a good way to organize the data. So as I'm having more and more projects here, and for this example, I'm just going to duplicate this. I'm going to duplicate a few different projects there. Select all of them. Say, hey, I'm going to duplicate all of these projects, just so you can have a sample of many different projects here. I can add a column to the right, and this column is going to be pricing as well. So the value, So I would just put here random numbers for all of these projects, guys. Good chat to have. $47,000, 52. That's going to be a small one. Carport, 158. You name it. Oops, I'm selecting all of them, which won't make much sense. Andrew, Anthony, Adam, Thompson. Something else in terms of project naming. In Shadmate, when we move from a draft to a job, then I actually have another project naming convention as well. And this is was created on purpose, so we make sure that we have one specific job um, per job, like so it doesn't duplicate. So even if you have the same client, you're gonna have individual items, which are very good. So a few different samples here. I'm using 109. Let's say 110. So that's a better way of doing it. 112. So what I have done here was just to create some projects, and this could be just change the pricing as well. 5 grand. Good. So I can see here that I have 10 projects, and the total here for these projects is $383,000. And what I can do is I can start adding information to these projects as I go. For example, they all admin to start, but this one here probably going to be waiting on deposit, right? And then what I can do here, guys, is I can add a column to the right, and this column could be status, and I can put here status deposit status. And then for this one here, we could change this and say, for example, to send to customer, send invoice, invoice sent. So can you see that we're starting to organize all of the different management aspects of our business in just one platform that follows the same workflow? And this platform can be integrated with ShedMate, for example, which is an awesome tool to help you on sales, to help you on technical documentation, and help you on engineering. So when you put this together, the boost for the project on the client for you, right, as a shared business is massive. Not only peace of mind, because you look at this, you can see where everything's going based on how you want to manage your business, not a platform that's fixed and, okay, here's a shared program, you use it. No, it's actually adapting to your business. No matter if you're doing concreting, no matter if you're doing erection, no matter if you're doing council fees, no matter if you have a specific way of managing your data. As I said, every single customer we have, been dealing with, no matter if they're enterprise or not, they're totally different. Right? They're totally different. You think the shared industry is the same? No, it's not. Every business is different. They'll have specific needs, and this is the most flexible way that I could see that we could put both together: the business management aspect of this, and also the project technical management that comes from ShedMate by not only creating site plans, instant quoting, this real easy to use design, fabrication frames, and ordering. All of that is combined in an amazing way. But let's keep going here. So for this one, we could say send deposit, invoice sent, waiting for payment, or payment overdue, uh, deposit status. It could just be confirmed. Let's delete this. Confirmed. Yep, that's it. So what happens here? Okay, this project here, Andrew, admin to start. So someone in your team will start working on that project. The second one, waiting for deposit. So someone could come there and say, look, I sent the deposit to the customer already, so waiting for it. So you can look at this and see where the project is. Or hey, you know what? I sent the invoice now. The send the invoice is the first one. So the client didn't pay. Okay, someone has to follow up. Or look, this was confirmed. So the client paid. So it's generally the finance department would be involved in this project production, so they can organize the financial data. Now that the payment was confirmed, Something that we can do here as an automation, and I'll start showing you how this can get better and better, is when the status change to something, then I want to change the another status. So when the status of deposit changes to confirmed, then I want to change the status to waiting on engineering. So now we created an automation. So the person who is actually operating your Monday.com, for example, doesn't need to be, ticking all of the boxes. There will be specific, columns that they need to work with, and we can filter and, adapt that just to that specific employee. And I'll show you an example. I'm going to create here another view. This is going to be a table, and this view here I'm going to rename to finance. So I'm not duplicating the data. I'm just changing the way that I see the data in front of me. And now for this, I'm going to go in hide columns, and I'm going to say, hey, I want to hide all of the columns, and I want to show only the status, deal value, and deposit status, and save to this view finance. So what happens is your general team, they can work on main, but that person working on admin, for example, finance, they can come here, they can only see, okay, I have this project and it's waiting for admin to start. So, okay, I need to start sending an invoice to that project and watch what's going to happen. Now I sent the invoice was sent, so waiting for payment. After a few days, okay, the client paid the invoice. As soon as I hit confirm here, what's going to happen? That project automatically changed to waiting on engineering because we're not waiting on deposit anymore, now waiting on engineering. So this is what you can, start having in your business. So your processes, they're the same. And then you can start scaling. You can have more and more projects. You can boost your marketing with our 3D online inquiry system. You can, get more leads. You can get a better sales workflow by using this. You can monitor and see your numbers and see what you need to improve. And then you can have a better organization on the production as well. So far we covered just, all the way to the status on your deposit. But if I go back to my main table, I see everything and I can sort by status as well. So I can see, hey, I have all of these projects admin to start. This one waiting for deposit, but this one waiting on engineering. All right, I'm waiting for engineering. What's next? Easy. Okay, go to ShedMate, go to that project, engineering, and let me request an engineering compliance report. So I click here, ShadowMate is going to send that to me, and then I can keep track of everything on my system. So for example, this one here, now that we got engineering, so ShadowMate could, export that engineering document for us. Let me see if we can get an example here, just so we can load it. Engineering. Okay, I have an engineering report that was created by ShedMate with Form 51 and all of the information that I need for this project. I could have my plans as well. Just looking here on the other screen to get an engineering document for rural. You have a wind reports, for example. Okay, let's say that this is the project I'm doing. Okay, so I requested engineering. I paid for it through the ShedMate portal, and what I can do is on this specific column on the project files, we can see that I have those quotes there already. So what I can do is, okay, let me add some additional documents. I'll get some engineering reports coming from ShedMate, from wind report, engineering plans, and site plan. So that's all that we get. So I'm putting all of that information here. So I got that information from ShedMate. And now instead of being waiting for engineering now, then I'm waiting for council approval. So this is when we can have additional columns here. So I can add another column to the right and say council or development approval. And then we can have another one for planning approval, like planning approval status. And I think you got it, right? I'm not going to be repeating myself all the way through the process here. I just wanted to give you that understanding, and then we can jump to some of the dashboards now. But here's when we can, change this and say, look, to start or waiting from council, or council have requested a native vegetation form because there's something specific in that area. And all of this back and forth communication can be discussed directly here. So if I just hover over my mouse, you can see that it kind of folds a little bit, and I can write a status note. So in this example here, we're waiting for council. So I'm going to put the note there, and I could say here, council is waiting for the certificate of title. And then I can tag someone else and say, Randolph or Emma, please send it to them and add an update. So now I have an update here, as you can see on this project. I can look at the administration here. I can easily see where my project's going. I see the deal value. I see that deposit was already paid. And then I can click here and see that, hey, in that specific planning approval status, I have an update. So that's what's working on for this project. So good things that I like to recommend on this is, just run weekly meetings with your team. And then you can go through all of your projects. Say, okay, let's go through all of the quotations. So, is there any problem there? No. Okay, let's go to projects. So, guys, so you're in the table with your screen sharing there. And okay, guys, what's going on these projects? We got this project Brass Francisco number 112, $158,000. Good, that's a great project. So let's put high priority on this one. Why haven't we started yet? I'm too busy, blah blah blah. So your team will have the excuses, or they could be real excuses or not. But then, okay, I need you to, send a deposit invoice to them right now. Send to them because it's an important project. Then, okay, why is this one waiting on engineering, or why is this one waiting on council approval? What's missing? Ordering, blah blah blah, and then you can keep moving. If you guys like it, if it's making sense so far, just comment below if you want. I could record another workshop, the second workshop, just going through and ordering lists, how we can create our suppliers, orders, and keep track all of that information. We have done that many times, and we can help you as well. But there are different steps here for different teams, delivering, erecting. But the main idea of this workshop was to show you what was possible and how easy it is to create this kind of structure for your business so you can start tracking all of the projects you're going through. Okay. Now, just so we can finalize talking about those metrics again, I would like to add now a dashboard. So what's a dashboard? I'll call this the CEO metrics, right? I'll just create this dashboard. And now with the dashboard, what I can do is I can get data from those specific dashboards that we created, boards that we created, like quotes and projects, and I can see them visually in a very easy way. So I could see charts, I could see numbers, I could see a battery, I could see a Gantt chart that shows me, when those projects are being, the deals are being closed, or which salesperson is closing more deals, or how long it's taking for each salesperson to reply to the customers. All of this can be organized here. So I start with the numbers. So numbers is very simple. Connect to a column, so get the information from probably quotes. And here on the quotes, it's showing $83,000, and I could put here deals closed this month. Okay, in dollars. And I can click here on the top, go to settings, and then customize and see, okay, let me see what's going on. I want to put dollars there. The board is coming from sales. And I don't want to see all groups because I only want to see what deals closed. So you can see that my value is not 83, it's 67 because the other ones, my team is still following up and all of that. Okay. So this is it. Deals closed this month. So then I can duplicate this. And this one here I can call opportunities this month. Okay. So I'm gonna go to settings again. And now instead of just showing deals closed, I wanna show what we're following up, quotes sent to customers, working on it, and open requests. Okay. And also I could filter this because I'm saying this month, right? So I can come here to my column and I can say, look, I want to filter the created ad. Date is this month. and save this to the filter. So now what I'm looking at all of the deals that was created this month that are not deals closed, and I'm getting the value and putting the value here in my dashboard, and I can do the same here and filter this just to add this month and say they create this was created at date is this month. Cool. And that's what I'm having in front of me right now. You know, if you're the business owner and coming back to those metrics that you didn't know how to find, now that you have an organized system, as things are happening here, you're gonna start, tracking that. So let's say that I receive another inquiry on ShedMate. I just copy the latest inquiry here. That's called this one. Okay, I have a new inquiry, and this inquiry, I'm gonna work on it. Okay, I produced the quotation. The quotation is $46.89 thousand. And then, I can start adding information. Hey, that's a quote for, I use this Francisco loading, add as a new client. Good. So as things are happening in real time, if I go back to my CEO metrics, I can see that now my opportunities this month are 61,780 because I got that new deal. And if I go back there, I can, okay, this deal there was a variation. It was updated to $35,000. Real time, guess what? The opportunities this month are gonna change as well. So you know what's going on there. Deals closed this month, and you name it. There is a lot of other things you can do here. You could have, batteries. So batteries when you want to see from all of the deals what kind of progress you are in. So here you can see how many deals were closed, how many new opportunities are there, and how many projects you're working on it. Okay, so if you look at this number, you can easily see, okay, there are 28% new deals, so that's about this one. So I have my team member working on it. Nice, cool. And I'm gonna probably rename these to deals. I could duplicate this, have another battery view, and just change the board now. So now instead of looking at the quotes, I want to look at where's my boards, add boards, projects, production. And looking at groups, I want to look at everything. Good. So now I can say jobs or projects. So now I can see that most of my projects are in admin to start, 70% of them. I can make this a little bit bigger if I want to. I have uh, I have 10% of jobs, just one that I'm ordering at the moment, and I have 70% admin to start, two are waiting for deposit, and one is waiting for council approval. So this is how fast you can get access to information when you have a good system that works for you, and it's much easier for your team to input information in this system than be just exchanging emails and information all the time with your customers. And if you want, there are ways to also copy on your emails and update make updates via email, as you can see. So I can just copy this. So when I'm sending an email to my customer, I can use this as a BCC, like send as an anonymous email, and the email that I'm sending to the customer with the quotation, with any exchange of information that I have, comes to the system as well. So that's a way for you to track all of the information in the same place, so you can have a great, way to manage your business, not only in having good databases of customers, suppliers, of whatever you want. All of the information will be there. So when you need to contact the customer, you just go to the system, search, and you know their phone number, you know their email address. So there's no more going to emails trying to get information, calling that business partner to ask, hey, what's the phone number of that person again? You remove all of that. Also, your sales workflow can be strictly to how you want to operate your business. You can cut everything that's unnecessary, and you can easily train new people on how to use this. It's very self-explanatory and simple. It's like, hey, here's our deals, and the columns have the information. And if you have anything specifically to comment, you have the updates, and you go and put out the information there. When you're using ShedMate, new deals are gonna come to you, every day here by using our API that integrates ShedMate and Monday.com. And then once projects are, closed by your sales team, we have seen those updates that we created. So we're gonna have the deals closed, and then they're gonna come to production. And then in production, you're gonna have a different workflow for them that you can start monitoring and managing in a very smooth way. And also you have your CEO metrics. So we have only a few here, but going back to our discussion, number of monthly inquiries, quotes delivered, shed sold, how long it takes. So all of this is possible because we can use multiple ways and multiple dashboards to put all this information in the same place for you. So I hope this workshop was valuable, that you could learn a little bit on how to better manage your business. Once again, it doesn't cost you much. It's about $30 per license. I think it's extremely worth it. I have used these in many businesses, not only enterprise customers, but doing implementations, and I really love it. I really love it the way that it works and how far you can go. This was an extremely simple process. I have done implementations like this that took weeks. So if you have done all of this here in like an hour or so, imagine what we can do in weeks of implementation, guys. It's really, really, really powerful. Thank you so much for watching this workflow and this workshop. And if you have any questions, please leave below. If you want another video on how we can do production, how we can do ordering and all of that management, and I can give you some insights as well. Thank you so much and have a lovely day.